Hello everyone. In this video I will show you how to get started with Phở Networks. So let's go to the Phở Networks website first. What is Phở Networks? First let's answer that question. Phở Networks is a modern framework for you to create new social applications. So what this platform allows you to do is it allows you to define the schema of your next social application, and with that schema then you can compile it with our command line interface, command line tools, and it will give you a REST API, a GraphQL API, and boilerplates for web or mobile applications. So that's what the Phở Networks stack is doing. But I will be giving you more examples, and I will be showing you what the schema is and all that. So stay with me. So first, I'm talking about a schema here. So let's go and check out what this schema is. So for that, we would need to go to the Phở recipes repository on GitHub. As you will see, there are a number of recipes here, and these are all social networking, well-known social networking applications, as well as a few generic ones here. So for example, let's go to Facebook. Here you will see two types of folders, nodes and edges. If we go to nodes, you will see blog post, event, group, page, photos, status updates, etc. And those correspond to the stuff that you see on Facebook. So for example, there are with Phở Networks there are three types of nodes, and these are actor, graph, or object. And with, for example, Facebook, you have two types of actors, and those are user and page, right? Because only users and pages on Facebook can do things. So that's what an actor is. So for example, if you go to this page here, you will see how we define it in GraphQL. Or here, you show, it's like a typical class declaration in a programming language, but in GraphQL. So you say that it's an actor node, and then you define the incoming edges, the incoming verbs, in other words, and outgoing edges, outgoing verbs. These permission levels correspond to the access levels, and it's similar to Unix octal system, except here it's hexadecimal, because we have not only read, write, and execution, but also we have something called manage, and that's why it's octal was not enough here, and we made it hexadecimal instead. And then properties, it can be editable, volatile, revisionable. For example, let's go to so this was an actor, right? I will go to an object node here. For example, a photo would be an object node, and with this photo, what this means is, so for example, if this was, let's see, so photos are not editable here. So once you upload it or once you define it, you cannot change it. You have to delete it in order to remove it and add a new version. It's not revisionable here, the photos, but you could, if this was, say, a wiki page object, then you would have to make this true, and it would keep track of every changes, and it would let you upload multiple versions of each such object. Those fields you see here, these are GraphQL fields, but they're similar to database fields. So instead of defining SQL schemas, you only define in a whiteboard friendly way your application, and it gives you the rest. It does all the boilerplates for you, it does all the APIs for you, etc., etc. And I'll show that in action to you. Yeah, here we are back. So let's switch to our terminal, and let's start playing with this stack here. Before I do that, let's go to getting started page, It shows you all the requirements. You must have this application. You must have this applications in order to be able to run this stack. So I'll leave you to do that. I'm not going to go through installation of each of this, but you can Google the names and you can find out how to install them for your own platform. I'm using a Mac here, but it should be fine with Windows and Linux as well. We won't be using Vagrant, but we will be using Neo4j, which we have here, and Git. So let's begin. So first, let's make sure that Redis server is running. So I'm doing it. It's already started. Yeah. Let's flash this. Let's make a fresh start. Okay. Make sure you do this very, carefully, because you might erase data. So I knew that this data was not something I needed, so that's why I flashed to use this command easily, but it's something you should be using very carefully. Don't forget. All right, so we're done with the Redis server. It's up and running. How about Neo4j? Let's see. This is our graph database, which we use here for indexing. We could be using Redis as well, but for the sake of simplicity, in this example, we're not. So I need to add a graph, create a local graph. Okay, graph should be Neo4j password. I'll make password as password. Okay, so it's creating a graph here, the desktop application that's showing us the Neo4j. I'm starting it. I click the arrow button here, and our database should start very soon. All right, let's manage. Open browser. I'll enter a cipher query here, and it should return me an empty dataset. Yes, okay, it's working fine. So we have this set up. Let's see what we are doing next. So we have to first install the command line interface, and for that let me make sure that I'm in the downloads folder. I am. Okay, let's move this Facebook stuff, and let's start by entering this command and installing the Pho using our Git tool. And now I'm in the Pho folder, and the next thing I should do is to install its dependencies using Composer. It's going to be fast if you have a fast connection. I do, so it was fast, and now we are done with this. And next we will be using the command line interface, Pho's command line interface, and it shows you all the available commands. The first one we're going to be using is the init command, and we have to enter, so init commands needs a target folder. In this case it will be, let's say, new Pho under downloads, and it should create a project for me. What it does in the background is it's actually using still the git command to this time fetch the Pho kernel and also install its dependency. So let's go there. Let's go to that folder. Shows you the folder here. Let's copy paste this instead of typing it manually. We are there. Okay, now as you can see, we have it installed now. A file that you don't see here, like .git files, is the .m file, which is the which is very important because it shows you it's all the connected sort of database. We say that it's Redis. We show the URL. We will be using the file system for storage, and we could be using AWS as well because we have adapters for different types of storage and database and index. But we basically set up all our connections here. I'm not sure if this one is going to work. Actually, I might be able to try. Let me see. Cipher show. No, it's not. Okay. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So this is the folder, and just opened it in Finder here. So the presets folder is full of the recipes, the standard recipes of Phonetworks, and we'll be copying one of them. I'll be copying the one that I know is fully up to date and works well here to do things. And these are composer files. Actually, you can remove this because, like I said, we have to be using a preset, a recipe. So I'll just copy it to web. I'll rename it as composer JSON. Yep. Yeah. So this is the file that we actually need, because this is the one where all our commands are listed. I'll open it in a second. License, readme, vagrants. I mean, definitely read the readme file, but I don't need them now, so I'll erase them. And this is automatically generated with Composer vendor, but I need to regenerate it because I just changed the Composer JSON file. It will install the dependencies for me. It just did, and Composer lock also is auto-generated now. Now let's edit the .m file, right? So for that, I need to. I'm using Visual Studio, and let's open a new window. Open folder. Let's go to downloads and info. Let's open this. Okay, so like I said, we have to make sure this is working properly, and then we have the kernel file here, .m file here, and these are all we need. So in the terminal, we can use this terminal here, so we have everything in one screen, in one window. All right, I'll start. So the next thing we do is, as the actually website should be also telling you, is to run this command here, since we're in the nif directory. I'll try this folder. We have it, the composer regenerated already. I just ran that. It's because this one was not written here, because we don't change the recipe in this example here, but we have to actually. So I would recommend you to do that, and then after you do that, run composer update. Okay, we have that now, and I'll be running the PHP kernel PHP command. Let's see what happens. It probably is not going to work in this example. I will need to fine-tune a few things, but while it's working on it, let me show you a couple of things. What this does is it first installs the dependencies, makes dependencies available to the program, defines the namespaces. This is to use in order to use the .m file, which has all the database and index connections information, and then we define the. In this case, we're using the web, so we can delete this because these were for other types of recipes. We can just delete these. We can delete this one as well. This one as well. So okay, so I first create a class, define the class, and then I define the user parameters. I define the services, etc., and then I start the kernel with this comment here. Okay, it's not, by the way, working, so I'll do this. I'll try to run it through the interactive shell. Okay. All right, we see now why it's not working. Oh, okay, simple. The problem is we have an error here, which we fixed. Let's see if it's going to work like this. PHP kernel PHP. Yep, see, it just ran. So what I did is it just booted. This is all it did so far. We created the database. So if we go back to Redis here, let's go to Redis, which is the database. You'll see, if I click keys, you'll see a number of objects created here, and those are the graph and the user, basically, and and then the kernel is booted. But since the program exits here, we're exited, so we don't see what's going on now. But I can show you what's happening. Okay, let's copy this as well, and then let's copy this way. Oops. Okay. Well, it's not very convenient, but actually I messed up, sorry. All right, I'm going to do this instead. I will put debugger here so we can run this and then continue from where after the booting we can run this thing. What's going on? Oh yeah, I just deleted actually everything, right? Yeah. Okay. Putting the debugger here back. Boom. Okay. Now we're booted, and now we're ready to play with the kernel. Good. So let's see what to do with it. So I'll continue from here. Let's create a new user, for example. But before we do that, let's also go to the web recipe to make sure we're doing the right things. So we can create a user here, which will have a bunch of fields, not just a password, but also username. Let's see, my username, and then an email, my@gmail.com, and let's see, and password 1 2 3 4 5 6, and the rest is either they have a default value or they're automatically set, so we're good with that. I just clicked and boom, yeah, you see this is the object that is just created. So we have the founder, we have the new user. These are two separate objects. If we go to the current the database, you'll see that there's a new object created here. Okay, cool. Now what's next? Then the next thing we do is to with an edge create an object. So let's go to our recipe to see what this could be. So why don't we create a forum post through the thread. So the thread is a forum thread, right? And we want to create this with our new user, and this says that each incoming edges for this could be either start or a reply, or it could be a consume. And if you go to the edges folder, you'll see all this. So we'll use the start edge to create a forum thread. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do next. I'll say that let's have the founder create this forum post. Okay, and I'll call this thread, and all I need is the fields of the forum thread, which is only a title and the contents. So my first forum thread title, and then this can be a long lorem ipsum. Boom, now we have edges and nodes created in the background, and we have our first node as well, object node as well, which is thread. And okay, now let's go to the tutorial. The other user can reply to this, right? So let's have the user reply the thread, but for that, let's also see the reply edge. user reply. Okay. So let's see. So this will be only one word or two words. This will be the reply. And boom, yeah, we have that too now. Instant edge created to be, you know, like this. We created the reply edge as well, but I forgot to store this, but it's fine. Now I can get all the outgoing edges, all the let's see, actually. So get outgoing edges. Oops. Let's get outgoing. Oops. Sorry. Edges. This is the standard function of each node. See, it has a see, these are the edges. So we have one. We just made another reply by error by mistake just recently. So that's why we have the start edge and then two replies here. So anyway, so this tool basically creates functions for each edges, and you know, you can create new nodes using those edges between and by defining the relationship between all these nodes. This is the programmatic way of dealing with the API.